It was a cold Monday morning inside the towering glass headquarters of Kawashima Tech in Tokyo. The boardroom was filled with executives in dark suits, polite, disciplined, efficient. Every word in that room was measured, translated, and rehearsed. Until the door opened and Umfans and Obokuri Dander Jummer and Verdavan Prashamo Bakshubim walked in. Her name was Liza Ramos, a Filipino communication coach. Not famous, not powerful, but confident in a gentle way. She bowed slightly and smiled. Everyone expected a grammar lecture or pronunciation drills. But instead, she looked around and asked softly, "When was the last time you felt understood?" The question stunned the room. Executives exchanged awkward glances. No one spoke. And then she smiled again. That warm, unguarded Filipino smile. Even before she said another word, they already felt something change. That was the moment Japan's most traditional company unknowingly opened its doors to something more powerful than translation. Connection. 2 weeks later, the boardroom felt different. The air was no longer thick with tension, but instead carried a sense of anticipation, as if everyone sensed that something important was about to happen. Standing at the front was Mariel Reyes from the Philippines, a guest whose presence was both unexpected and intriguing to the group. She had no PowerPoint, no handouts, just a warm presence that seemed to absorb the room's anxiety and replace it with curiosity. Her English was filled with a gentle rhythm and warmth, her words flowing softly but confidently, inviting everyone to listen. "Good morning," she began, making eye contact with each executive, her gaze steady and kind, as if she already knew each of their stories. "I am here to help you find your own voice in English," she said, her tone both encouraging and sincere, as if she truly believed in their potential. Her words landed with surprising force, breaking through the usual reserve that filled the room. The executives were used to memorizing safe, approved phrases, always careful not to make mistakes or stand out too much. Marielle continued, "Trust is built with honest moments. It's not about perfect grammar, but about being real with each other." She shared a story about making a mistake at work and how honesty had actually strengthened her relationship with her boss. The executives listened, captivated, some even nodding in recognition. Mr. Tanaka finally spoke, his voice hesitant but curious. "But mistakes are weakness. How can we show that?" Marielle smiled, her expression reassuring. "Is it a weakness to be human, Tanaka-san? Or is it a strength to show who you really are? Your partners want to do business with you, the person, not just the professional mask you wear." A small crack appeared in the wall of corporate formality. Shoulders relaxed, and a few tentative smiles flickered around the table. The voice that broke the ice was quiet, sincere, and spoke the language of authenticity. It was a voice that invited others to lower their guard. The executives began to see the value in vulnerability, realizing that true connection required a willingness to be open, even if it felt uncomfortable at first. The room started to thaw, one honest conversation at a time. In that moment, a new kind of trust began to grow, one built not on perfection, but on the courage to be real. The old way was a fortress of precision, devoid of life. Conversations were sterile, stripped of rhythm and spontaneity. The message was delivered, but the connection was not. Marielle and her team introduced a radical alternative. They coached humanity, not just English. "Your accent is part of your story," Marielle would say. The new language was one of vulnerability and presence. It was about listening to understand, not just to reply. Instead of formal statements, executives began engaging in dialogue. "That's a good point, thank you." The buffer was gone, and real human connection began to flow. The fortress was dismantled, one honest conversation at a time. The executives were learning to speak as human beings. The change was profound, and the impact was powerful. The catalyst for this revolution was the Hibana project. Watanabe Kenji believed the Filipino approach held the key to solving their trust crisis. His idea, bring in Filipino coaches to retrain the company's top leadership. The board reacted with stunned silence and resistance. Watanabe stood his ground. "We need to learn how to sound human." The Filipino communication style was built on empathy and sincerity. His persistence wore down the board's resistance. They agreed to a small pilot program. It was a huge gamble for Watanabe. If it failed, his career would be over. But he believed the potential reward was worth the risk. The Hibana project was approved, ready to start a fire. The spark was lit, and the change was set in motion. The future of the company was about to be reshaped. The first session of the Hibana project was excruciating, a test of patience and cultural boundaries for everyone involved. The executives sat stiffly, their posture rigid, faces carefully composed. These were men and women who were used to commanding authority, not revealing vulnerability. Marielle, the Filipino facilitator, began with a deceptively simple request. "Tell me about a time you felt proud of your work." Her voice was gentle, but her question cut through the formal atmosphere like a blade. Silence followed, thick and uncomfortable. Discussing feelings, especially pride, was not on the agenda in this room. The air was heavy with unspoken rules and expectations. Mr. Tanaka, one of the most senior executives, looked utterly bewildered. He cleared his throat, searching for the right words, but none came. The silence stretched on, a quiet standoff between the old ways of doing business and the new approach Marielle was introducing. It was as if time itself had slowed, everyone waiting for someone else to break the tension. Marielle waited, holding the space with quiet confidence. She didn't rush or fill the silence, trusting that something important was about to happen. Finally, Ito-san, a mid-level manager, spoke up. "I was proud," he said softly. "When a junior team member solved a problem, I could not." His words hung in the air, honest and vulnerable. Marielle smiled warmly. "That shows. You are a leader who builds others up," she replied, her encouragement genuine and heartfelt. This small breakthrough opened a crack in the wall of reserve. The atmosphere shifted, ever so slightly, as if a window had been opened in a stuffy room. Inspired by Ito-san's courage, another executive found his voice and shared a story of his own. Mr. Tanaka, still hesitant, finally spoke. "My daughter drew a picture of me," he said, his voice trembling just a little. "She said I was her hero." Marielle nodded, her understanding going beyond words. She listened with empathy, making it safe for others to share. In that moment, Mr. Tanaka was no longer just a fearsome director. He was a proud father, vulnerable and real in front of his peers. The executives were learning, perhaps for the first time, to speak as human beings, not just as titles or roles. Watanabe, the sponsor of the project, watched with hope. His gamble on this new approach was beginning to pay off, and he could sense the shift in the room. The change was profound, and the impact was powerful. For the first time, the team was connecting on a deeper level, seeing each other's humanity. The Hibana project was not just a meeting, it was reshaping the very future of the company, building bridges across cultures and generations. The spark was lit, and the change was set in motion. What began as an awkward session had become the first step toward a more open, connected, and inspired workplace. News of the Hibana project spread like a quiet rumor. At first it was met with amusement and disbelief. The image of Mr. Tanaka discussing feelings was unimaginable. The prevailing attitude was skepticism. Traditionalists saw it as a waste of time. The change began in small, everyday interactions. Mr. Tanaka showed levity during a video conference. "Technology is not perfect today. Neither are we." The American team laughed. Tension vanished. These small moments created a ripple effect. Teams reported feeling more valued and safe. The skeptics noticed when changes translated into results. Trust was a measurable asset. The spark had caught, and a quiet revolution was spreading. The Filipino method was rooted in empathy and sincerity. Communication was relational, not transactional. It prioritized connection over correction. Marielle taught executives to be fully present, listening with intent to understand, not just reply. Exercises focused on reading emotional cues. Embracing vulnerability was key. It was acceptable to say, "I don't know," or "I need help." The method focused on the heart, not power poses. Trust is built through small gestures and honesty. The most powerful words were, "Thank you," and "I understand." The Filipino coaches reintroduced humanity into the workplace. They taught connection, not just language. The impact was profound, reshaping the future of business. The Hibana project triggered a transformation in workplace culture. Meetings shifted from formality to collaboration. Leaders solicited feedback, valuing perspectives. Innovation and problem-solving improved. Employee satisfaction and morale increased. The company's reputation began to recover. Mr. Tanaka spoke directly, rebuilding trust. The European company signed the deal. Client retention rates climbed. The company's stock price ascended. Watanabe's gamble paid off beyond expectations. Empathy was a hard asset. The Filipino coaches taught connection. A revolution of trust was reshaping the future. The Hibana project's story spread beyond one company. Watanabe shared his experience at conferences. His message, the future lies in humanity, not technology. Japanese corporations had lost the ability to build trust. The demand for Filipino coaches skyrocketed. The Filipino method became a recognized term. A new model of leadership emerged. The movement influenced corporate life in Japan. Rigid hierarchies became more flexible. The revolution fostered a healthier work culture. True change comes from shifts in the human heart. Trust begins where translation ends. Leaders discovered a powerful way to communicate. The ultimate currency is human trust.